Welcome back to Open Window Politics. Today we're going to be doing a prediction between the current governor of California, Governor Gavin Newsom, on the Democratic side, of course, versus the Republican most likely frontrunner for 2028. That is the current Vice President, J.D. Vance. So Gavin Newsom has been in politics for a while in California and is, of course, now the governor. And J.D. Vance started as an author, then became a senator from Ohio, and then was in 2024 was picked as Trump's running mate. And then, of course, Trump won in 2024, so he is now vice president. And at the moment, J.D. Vance looks as though he will be the most likely Republican frontrunner for the presidency in 2028. Governor Gavin Newsom also at the moment looks like the most likely contender for the Democrats, but we're still quite a ways out, so a lot could change. But for now, we'll just be doing a prediction between these two candidates. So we'll start out in Nevada and then in the East. So I think Nevada, I would put this state, didn't mean to do that. I will put this state into the tilt blue. I think that Gavin Newsom will have an advantage being from a neighboring state. And I think with the current tide, we'll have to see what happens in the midterms in Nevada, but I do feel like it will be one of, if not the easiest states for Democrats to be able to flip back into the Democratic Party's column. So that is going to be the state of Nevada, 6 electoral college votes there, bringing Newsom to 232. And then Arizona I think will be close, but for now I'm going to keep it in the Republicans column. The state went to Trump by the biggest margin of all the core 7 swing states, was in the lean rating for Trump, and I think it would take quite a bit for a Democrat to win the state, and I don't see Newsom as the candidate that could do that. It'll also be interesting to see how a Republican other than Trump, because he's been at the head of the Republican Party for 12 years and has been their presidential nominee for all 3 election cycles. So it'll be interesting to see what a non-Trump Republican, how they will perform throughout the swing states. But I think that in Arizona, it might be advantageous to run a candidate like J.D. Vance compared to Trump. I think that if Trump were, which he can't, it's unconstitutional, but if Trump were to run again, he would probably lose both Nevada and Arizona. But with J.D. Vance, he's definitely less polarizing of a figure, still pretty polarizing, but fewer scandals than Trump. And I think that would play to his advantage in the state of Arizona, resulting in 11 electoral college votes for J.D. Vance's campaign. And then we get to the district here in Nebraska. This was actually already called. I'm going to put it into I'm actually going to go with lean blue rating. I think it could be in the tilt, but it went to Harris in 2024 by, if I remember correctly, like around 3 points. So I think it would take quite a bit for it to go red. And the national environment right now is looking really good for Democrats. And I think that in 2026, in November, Democrats will be able to pick up a seat in that congressional district. And I think that would be a fairly easy seat for them to pick up. And then I think in 2028, that the district would vote roughly 3 to 5 points in favor of the Democrat, who in this case is Governor Gavin Newsom. And then I'll get to the other half of the Sun Belt. So Georgia, I'm going to put Georgia into Governor Gavin Newsom's column. This state has seen some great election results for Democrats in recent years. In 2025, saw some good news for Democrats. And it'll be interesting to see what happens during the midterms in Georgia. John Ossoff, the senator, is running. He is the incumbent senator, of course, from the state of Georgia. And it'll be interesting to see if he can pull a victory. And the moment he does look like the favored candidate, and that can give us an idea of which way Georgia is leaning in 2028. So that's going to be Georgia. And then I think North Carolina, I'm going to put that on the other side of the political aisle. So that is going to go to J.D. Vance. I think Democrats in the long run should be optimistic about North Carolina. However, I don't think this election, if the election were to be held today between these 2 candidates, that it would result in a Democratic victory. I don't really see that happening too much, but it is a possibility. Really, any of these tilt states, and possibly even the lean or likely, could go to the other party. We never know for sure, but just a prediction. So that's going to be North Carolina for J.D. Vance, bringing us to a pretty close tied game. 248 to 246. And then I think the national environment definitely is favoring Democrats at the moment, although in the Rust Belt, J.D. Vance probably would have more appeal than Governor Gavin Newsom. J.D. Vance, like I mentioned, former senator from Ohio, and I think that the state of Wisconsin would probably be the most likely to end up in the Democratic Party's column. And then the other two I've gone back and forth on. I think J.D. Vance, probably his best chance would be in Pennsylvania. Ultimately, though, I think that the Rust Belt would vote together, and I think if Wisconsin is going one way with the national environment definitely favoring Democrats, that they'd vote together. Generally, these three Rust Belt states do that. In 2016, they all went for Trump. 2020, all went for Biden. 2024, all went for Trump again. So I think they would largely vote together, but I do think Pennsylvania is J.D. Vance's best shot at winning a Rust Belt state, and that is the one with the most electoral college votes. So it would be an impressive feat. Even if J.D. Vance won this state, it would still be a victory for Governor Gavin Newsom with the state of Michigan. But for now, I'm going to put Pennsylvania back into Newsom's column, and that's going to be the prediction. So that leaves us with 292 for Governor Gavin Newsom to 246 for Vice President J.D. Vance. Don't forget to like